These works belong to our own National Gallery and have been touring regional New South Wales since February. Given the difficulties of travel, this exhibition features the finest small-scale works in the gallery's collection. It's an exhibition that transcends cultural boundaries with works from 6 countries, including Australia. Some are ceremonial, some religious, some are ancient, and others are contemporary. But all bring to Newcastle the opportunity to get a glimpse of humanity that crosses the confines of culture and history. The exhibition opens tonight and runs until September the 11th.
Now trained by John Hawkes in Sydney, Spanish Mix returned 12.90 and 2.80 in its second Group 1 victory and gave Stephen King a winning double. To another major sprint, the Premier Stakes at Rose Hill over 1,200 metres. Stormy Regent got the judge's decision over Big Dreams and Keltreese. The Quinella returning $18.40, the trifecta $120.50.
Main Road 217 is a major arterial road between Morisset and Edgeworth. It also links the F3 at Morisset to Wallsend. Councillor John Kilpatrick says the 2-lane undivided road doesn't cater for present traffic conditions.
Just from Toronto alone, there's something like 25,000 cars a day coming through there onto the Fennell Bay Bridge. There's a lot of problems getting out of some of the accesses, such as Fishery Point Road. Cocker Creek Bridge is a problem.
Council has received $100,000 from the Roads and Traffic Authority to conduct a survey justifying the concerns. Councillor Kilpatrick says the work should include widening the carriageway plus installing traffic lights at Victory Parade, Toronto. There is also a plan to make Main Road bypass Toronto, cutting into nearby wetlands. The successful tenderer to conduct the survey will be named within the next few weeks. The survey should take 6 months and must be completed by March next year. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
The Chamber of Manufacturers is in effect a union for employers. Today they were advising their members on workplace disputes and how to give people the sack legally.
The legislation is introduced and there's an education program that goes through that people have got to become aware of what it's all about.
The seminar, titled Managing Dismissals, is a first for this area, giving local businesses advice on how to address new industrial relations laws. The course covers issues like recruitment, termination, redundancy and unfair dismissal claims. While it's sure to create some dissension amongst employees, the Chamber says it's important for its members to understand and work within the system, otherwise they could face penalties. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The Prime Minister received a warm welcome on his arrival at Erinafair near Gosford. Following the release of the federal government's white paper, vocational training has been targeted to help Australia's unemployment level. The blueprint, a $38 million student traineeship foundation. Senior high students will be encouraged to combine normal school studies with off-the-job training through TAFE and other bodies. The scheme is based on the successful track program that started in Newcastle and is now operating across the country. After mingling with supporters, it was time to defend a rise in interest rates and questions about that book. And a funding boost today for Wyong's Hopetown Special School for educationally disadvantaged students. Federal Education Minister Simon Crean announced $400,000 to help reintegrate students back into mainstream studies.
It's a constant environmental debate. The mines need to release waste saline water. Farmers need fresh water for crops and stock. A working party has been set up to deal with problems with Black Creek and Wollombi Brook and the discharges from the Pelton-Ellalong colliery. Representatives from the mine, state government authorities and local landholders taking part. The Environmental Protection Authority has stopped immediate discharges from the colliery, but storage dams are filling up. If it rains, the EPA says the mines will have to let water flow out into the waterways. The wine industry is up in arms over threats of more releases, but as yet the working party has no immediate solutions for the problem. Last month, the mine released saline water into Wollombi Brook, where salinity levels doubled, preventing farmers from irrigating or watering their stock. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
At the centre of the clean-up and management strategy is perhaps the area's most prominent resident, Lake Macquarie. Clean Up Australia founder Ian Kiernan today had a first-hand view of some of the problems facing one of the Hunter's most attractive natural features.
We are seeing attitudinal changes. We are lifting awareness, there's no doubt about that, about environmental problems. We are reminding people that beautiful things like Lake Macquarie are an asset of everybody's and need to be looked after by the community, not just say, get the council to fix it.
Spurred on by the success of previous rubbish campaigns, Ian Kiernan is about to announce a new venture. Clean Up 2001 will go beyond the local community, targeting some of the nation's biggest industries and rejuvenating assets like waterways to hand back to the community.
The industry needs to further its environmental commitment, and the smart industries are doing this.
They can cause concerns in the lake, even though they're well away from the lake.
After today's inspection of the lake, Mr Kiernan will offer council advice on how to deal with problems like urban runoff and sedimentation.
It's a beautiful lake, we want to keep it that way.
It may not seem like much of an effort to slow down for a traffic obstacle like this, but if you're on your way to a 000 call driving one of these and there are numerous speed bumps or roundabouts to negotiate, the delay could prove fatal.
The speed bumps can have dramatic effect, not only responding to the call of fire, but can also have adverse effect on the appliance itself.
Increasingly, councils are placing obstacles like these in residential areas to slow traffic. Another trend is to close off some link streets to channel traffic out of suburbs and onto main roads. But in an emergency situation, newly created cul-de-sacs could become a time trap for ambulance, rescue squad and fire brigade crews. The fire brigade estimates speed bumps alone can cause a 20 to 30% delay in response time. That is, a 10-minute journey could take 13. Are we literally talking about minutes, meaning life and death in some way?
Yes, we are, and I don't want to be over dramatic about it, but yes, it can mean a matter of minutes.
The fire department has called for councils to be more aware of traffic problems facing emergency services when making future planning decisions. Joanne Shoebridge, NBN News.
KJ Newcastle, Westpac 1. Westpac 1's departed this scene for John Hunter. John Hunter time 16:32, 1632.
With more than 600 missions a year, the Rescue Service's twin-engine Bell 412 is stretched to the limit. Demand is steadily increasing for its use in emergency responses, search and rescue operations, as well as medical transfers.
With aircraft, the more hours they fly, the more maintenance that it has to do. So therefore, some of the hours that we should be available, we're offline doing maintenance.
But help is on the way. To make sure the service can stay online, a $1.2 million backup aircraft has been bought from a Gold Coast company. It's being fitted out in Brisbane and is due to arrive in Newcastle early October.
Means that they're more assured of the fact that if they do need very quick transport, that we can respond.
In order to expand, the service has taken out a $500,000 loan and is relying on community support to help pay it back.
Just continue to support us, and if you continue to support us, we'll be able to provide you with an even better service.
It's this close working relationship, volunteers fighting side by side with regular officers, that some feel could be jeopardised. At the centre of the furore is Wyong's District Fire Control Officer Graham Swain. He's been appointed by the Department of Bushfire Services as the Hunter's new Deputy Coordinator, in charge of the region's 16 local areas. But a meeting of captains last night resulted in a no-confidence vote against Mr Swain, and the threat of a strike next week if the appointment goes ahead. That's left the city of Lake Macquarie, one of the largest areas manned by volunteer firefighters, worried.
You know, it really is hard to get volunteers for anything nowadays, and to be as good as these people are, if they withdraw services, that really would place Lake Macquarie in a catastrophic position, really.
Mayor Kilpatrick plans to talk with the department to try to help resolve the issue. It's believed the Hunters Regional Coordinator Bob Hatton has already resigned over the matter following a meeting of district officers earlier this week. Commissioner Phil Caperberg today described the action as an orchestrated and unprecedented campaign and claimed it followed similar action taken when Mr Swain was to be transferred to Albury. The Commissioner said he was personally looking into the issue and was confident it would be resolved at a meeting tonight between senior officers and the Assistant Commissioner. Mr Swain was unavailable for comment on the matter today.
From a distance it looks like just another bridge, but this job over the Patterson River at Gresford near Maitland is a first for Australia.
It's the first cellular hardwood bridge to be built in Australia.
The bridge deck is built of native Australian hardwood. It's stress laminated, that is, held together with metal rods. Using the existing timber piles from the old bridge, the new timber deck is just slid into place. It's the largest bridge of its type in the world, the deck measuring 60 metres and weighing 200 tonnes. Bridge builders believe this may be the way of the future, quicker to put together and longer lasting than concrete designs. The bridge should be open to traffic within a fortnight.
Following last night's board meeting, Chairman Terry Lawler appeared on NBN's League Extra program, confirming discussions had taken place with several candidates.
There were a number of potential candidates or candidates who were given an opportunity to present their credentials to the board, and we're expecting to be in a position and make an announcement on Monday.
He wouldn't elaborate on who the board had met with. The list of potential coaches now including Great Britain's Malcolm Reilly. Today, current coach David Waite was saying little.
I spoke to the board, and as far as that's concerned, there's been no statement from the board in relation to the position. I noticed with interest on your program last night that our chairman said they'll be making a decision hopefully Monday afternoon. So you know as much as I do.
Waite was more concerned with stopping the Knights' losing streak with a win against Cronulla at Caltex Field tomorrow.
So I don't think this is the worst football team the club's had, but if we lose 6 in a row, that's I think is our worst record, our worst losing streak. They don't deserve that.
Redhead Beach provided smooth conditions with a solid 1 metre wave for today's finals. Sydney's Jana Fitzgerald outclassing Rachel McDonald to win the under-18 girls title. In the Open Boys, local hope Christian McCall bowed out in the second semi-final. Sydney's Dane Deaver and defending champion Michael Lowe from the South Coast up against the Central Coast pairing of Joel Grimble and Nick Leslie in the final. Lowe's class shone through in the final, defeating Leslie, while Grimble finished fourth. The top 10 finishers qualified for December's national youth titles at Phillip Island in Victoria. Williams was on target early, banging over 2 long-range penalty goals for a 4-0 lead. In the 30th minute, a major blow to West with prop Anthony McDonald sent off for a high tackle. A further penalty gave Curry a 6-0 lead at half-time, which was reduced to 2 points when Peter Jenner scored for the minor premiers after a quick tap from Price. Price engineered West's second 5 minutes later, making the break and then backing up to score. He then potted a field goal, and with Curry seemingly out of the match, they reproduced last year's grand final effort, Darryl Johnson scoring from long range, Williams needing this to win the match. Curry will now play Toronto in next Sunday's grand final.
Hassan Mesha was weary and sore after his marathon operation, which saw a team of 5 surgeons rebuild his shattered jaw. Hassan was injured by gunfire, part of his jaw blown away. Doctors in Newcastle have taken bone from his hip and skin from his arm to repair the injury.
Previously he was short of chin, so his chin was down like that, and his mouth was contracted by about 2/3, so he couldn't open his mouth properly and he couldn't eat properly. So now he has a full normal mouth inside.
The operation at Lingard Private Hospital took 10 hours, but according to surgeon Chris Howe, it went well. Hassan is the first Bosnian war victim to come to Australia for surgery. The doctors are donating their time and the hospital its services. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
For several decades, the idea has been around to widen the entire length of Derby Street by 10 metres to allow for increasing traffic. But the latest studies say widening isn't necessary, with clearways handling daily traffic peaks.
As the traffic volume grows, we're going to need to put some clearways in there, and that's a trade-off that we've made pretty clear with people, that's just going to need to happen in order for it to work properly.
However, widening is still foreshadowed from Hunter Street to Queen Street past Civic Park, and at the other end from Glebe Road to Parkway Avenue, with a roundabout there and another at Parry Street in the longer term. But it's the village area from Bull to Queen Streets that's of immediate interest, making it more of a pedestrian precinct with removable shrubbery and extra paving, and enhancing its restaurant and heritage reputation.
Areas such as Glebe, Point Road in Sydney and Newtown are busy thoroughfares, the same as Derby Street, and they've got traffic calming and they're people places. They haven't widened the road, and we don't need to do that in Cooks Hill.
Space left by setting back buildings in anticipation of the road widening will now be used for shady parks or outdoor eateries. While some business people won't be happy about the clearway idea, there has to be a compromise.
Traffic's busy at certain times of the day, Ray. At other times it slows down of its own accord. And the more it slows down, the better off everyone is.
The discussion paper will be on public display for a month, seeking more comment.
National Parks and Wildlife personnel are relying on a steady supply of prawns in the South Channel to keep the whale happy. It's become the subject of wide-scale research and media attention since it crossed the Harrington Bar. So far it's remained calm, but there are fears the river won't provide enough food to guarantee the mammal's survival. A ranger on board the National Parks houseboat is planning to snorkel alongside the whale in an attempt to determine its species and whether it's at any risk. Lawrence Orell says the fact it has remained in the same location for so long would indicate the food supply is satisfactory, for the moment anyway.
It's unlikely, we suspect, to have any major effect or indeed any long-term effect on the fishery in the river.
The channel remains closed to the boating public. Spectators are requested to watch from the banks of the river. Tracy Walsh, NBN News.
The 30-second advertisements are playing on 16 radio stations in the coal mining areas of New South Wales and Queensland. Here, they particularly target the 6 Labor-held local electorates. The 3 advertisements depict a meeting of shareholders of a fictitious Japanese company.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, fellow shareholders, this year's record profit is due to our great success with the new low price of Australian coal.
The radio ads back up newspaper and bus advertising, which features league stars Mal Meninga and Paul Sirenen, saying Australia needs to play as a team. $62 a tonne is at least $5 below the price the Japanese pay for United States coking coal, and nearly 30% below Canada's price. The miners say this is because there's no unified marketing authority.
We're prepared to accept that if there's going to be free trade between us, then the market will settle, as long as the market's not distorted by the cartels of buyers that currently exist.
The Federation is seeking a meeting with the Japanese ambassador and will hold talks with several ministers in Canberra before formulating a proposal to put to the ALP's national conference in Hobart late next month.
$220 students came from all over the region for today's performances. They featured anything from dark drama to comedy and dance. The entire school from Beltrees was involved in its production, based on The Wind in the Willows. But not all the items featured creatures from fiction. The Broadmeadow School touched on the drama of a concentration camp in the Second World War. Watching the stage action is the crux of the festival, allowing the students to learn from each performance. Young people are also handing out artistic lessons of a sort at the Newcastle Workers Club. Exhibition 94 opens tonight as part of the Youth Arts and Skills Festival.
Plenty of works, paintings, sculptures, ceramics, photography, mixed media, lots of mixed media. And pastels, just about everything really.
More than 60 works have been entered in the competition.
Essentially they had to be between 15 and 25 and they had to do something about the images of the family.
Wickham School was severely damaged in the 1989 earthquake. 5 years on, it's about to take on a new life. The historic site is to become accommodation for Newcastle University students. Today, Planning Minister Robert Webster was shown through the building, which should be completely restored by June next year. The university will lease up to 40 units, 22 in the former school, another 18 to be built on adjoining land. All up, it will cost the Honeysuckle Corporation around $5 million. It's hoped the private sector will also play a role.
There's land also remaining at the rear which will allow for up to another 42 units, and we hope to do some kind of joint venture with the private sector on that land to encourage them to be involved in the project as well.
The first students will move into Wickham in February. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
Day 13 of the industrial action and more than 300 of the striking Tomago workers were briefed by union delegates about the progress being made over their 8% wage claim.
The talks up till now have been fruitless. Both parties have defined their positions and argued in favour of their positions in each of the meetings that have gone on both last week and this week, and there's been no movement from either side.
Workers were asked to vote on what course of action to take next. They were given a number of options. These included stepping up the picket line or implementing rolling strikes. The preferred option, though, was to continue the strike action and picket line as is and to ask the Industrial Relations Commission to arbitrate.
We'll be requesting that the Commission involve itself in this dispute.
Tomago plant manager Barry Goldstiver says if the matter is to be dealt with by the Commission, the company would be withdrawing the 3% wage increase presently on offer. Yesterday was the first payday striking workers had missed. They were told today that steel unions have pledged financial assistance. Since workers walked off the job almost 2 weeks ago, the smelter has been manned by staff. Jane Anderson, NBN News.